An important ingredient in almost every recipe is vegetable broth. Cooking it is actually quite simple. But what if we had homemade vegetable broth powder? You'll see how that works now.
Welcome to Cooking Lessons. From now on, I'll show you the best tips and tricks for your kitchen. So let's cook something nice together and turn you into a pro.
I've put together a few different varieties of vegetables here. And of course, they're always seasonal, whatever you have on hand. I have some spring onions, fresh garlic, but also regular garlic, fennel and onion, celery, carrots. Then we have celery here, and I admit, asparagus is actually a bit too expensive for that. But it gives us an incredible taste, and I'm going to treat myself to that today. And these little shiitake mushrooms are here to give us that umami flavor. It's neither sweet nor sour, neither bitter nor salty. It's just that flavor that's so hard to pin down. So, fried chicken, fried mushrooms, that's what the mushroom gives us in our vegetable broth powder. And more ingredients. Here I have some dried mohair mushrooms, sea salt, a bit of turmeric for color, and some chili flakes. Of course, you can also use fresh ones. How do we do this? Clean everything. Thoroughly peel, wash, and then chop it up. We need to put all of our fresh vegetables through the blender. So we first chop them up a bit and mix them in as large a bowl as possible so that we can then puree them later. And a little tip. The harder the vegetables, the finer you should cut them. The easier it will be for the blender to chop your vegetables into small pieces. With the fennel, I even leave in that little core that usually gets cut out. And that's also a hard vegetable, so I cut it relatively small. Definitely leave the fennel fronds on, because they give us a lot of flavor. We're also chopping the celery stalks because they're quite sturdy too. And you can already see, please don't remove these wonderful leaves from the celery stalks. They have so much flavor too. They go in there. So, and also cut the washed spring onions into rings. And I keep seeing that many people throw away this dark green part up here. But I have to tell you, there's way more flavor in these green leaves than in the nice white pieces. So please just slice the entire spring onion, and I'll also cut a small piece of celery into the smallest cubes possible. I love asparagus, and I love it in all variations. And that's why it's going into my vegetable broth. Today for the next wonderful sauces and soups. So, the washed parsley still has these nice stems in this case. I'm saving the curly part of the parsley. And just my stems, which have just as much flavor, go into my vegetable broth. So, and I also chop up these little stems, and they go right in with our other vegetables. Looks really good. So our shiitake mushrooms will also be chopped up. As I said, they're there to give us a wonderful flavor in our vegetable broth. Garlic always works for me. You have to get a little creative with it. If you don't want it at all, just leave it out. I'm even adding a little bit of my fresh garlic to it. And at the very end, we still have our turmeric. It gives us such a beautiful golden color. Our chili flakes. You also need to experiment a bit with what you want. My morel mushrooms are going in there too. And of course, we also need a bit of salt in our vegetable broth. And now we just mix it all together with our hands. And then we head over to the blender. So, that really looks excellent, and you can believe me, it smells amazing. We're now putting this vegetable mix into our blender. Be careful, don't overfill it. Better do it in 2 or 3 batches. It's good for the device, and in the end, it also goes faster. So I think that's more than enough for the beginning. Let's put our lid on. And now, we're going to shred. After just 1 minute, we already have this result. So, I'm going to place our first batch right here on this mat. For my dehydrator, of course, you can also do this wonderfully on any baking tray and then in the oven. But we also like to eat dried fruit sometimes. Let's show you again. And this oven here, it is supposed to give us this vegetable cream. Make our powder by drying it out thoroughly. And we can already place that in the dehydrator. So just put it in. If you don't have enough of these mats, you can just use the racks and put a bit of baking paper on top. It works just the same. So we're not going to clean the blender, of course. Let's go ahead and make the next batch in there until we've processed everything. Here's also a stirrer included. It's designed in a way that you can't get to the blade. Very, very practical. Done. Already done. A few seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mats full of vegetable mousse. And we want to dry that now. And that works best at 70 degrees. And we let it all. It will switch over immediately. Sit in the oven for 8 hours. That's a long time. But later we have a homemade vegetable broth where we know what's in it. Now let's take a look inside. What it looks like in here. Wow, it's really, really firm now. The others look exactly the same, of course. They're going to be ground again. Well, I mean, it really looks great, especially what's left from that pile of vegetables. But that's the essence. We're going to make a broth from that. We want to make our powder from this first. Look here. It looks really great. We want to make our powder from that now. First, let's put everything into the blender. Look at how much this has turned into. That was a lot of vegetables. It's really amazing. Nothing happened. It's just the powder and the whole kitchen smells amazing. Now we want to grind it really fine. It's steaming up here. It's ground so finely. Let's take a look at the result. Wow. Wow. Now it smells even more. We have these wonderful little glass bowls here, and we're just going to pour it in. And just like that, we have our own vegetable broth powder. We're going to vacuum seal the little bowl now. And now we have a powder that we made ourselves, so we know what's in it, and it's free of preservatives. It couldn't be better. Just add water again, and then we have a soluble vegetable broth, or simply add it to dishes. Sprinkle. As a seasoning, you can refine it however you like. We have all sorts of things in there now, but you can also mix different varieties into your powder. I think it's brilliant, and this powder is going to be a staple in my kitchen from now on. I like it. Please give us a thumbs up, and what can we do with a vegetable broth? You can just press it here in the next video. Bye. It's Kala.
Be sure to check out this next video. It's packed with even more tips and tricks that will help you become a master chef in no time. And don't forget to subscribe to Cooking Lessons for more delicious content every week. It's easier than you think.